Alright, y'all. So, it's your boy Nux here. Today we're going to be talking about the Byrna launcher. Personally, one of my favorites. Um, if you are a felon or in the state of New Mexico, you're going to want to pay special attention to this video. So, here I have the Byrna SD, which is their standard model. They have a variety of other models, but the most notary ones would be the SD, which is their basic one. The next level up being the LE, the Law Enforcement Edition. And then they have a submachine gun style one called the TCR, which carries a 12-round magazine with backup 7-round magazines. And then they have the Mission 4, which is a AR style version, equipped with two 19-round magazines and an 88-gram CO2 canister. Things to take into consideration is with the Mission 4, changing the CO2 in a combat situation is not really feasible. It takes too long. The TCR carries a 12-gram CO2 canister. You could change this a bit faster. The biggest issue with these would be, especially with the pistol versions, the LE and the SD, would be that at max you can carry 7 rounds, so 7-round magazines. Beyond that, these things are amazing. The LE fires and hits with 41 joules. The Mission 4 has 365 feet per second. The TCR is comparable. They also have a compact version of the LE, a subcompact version, which also hits with 41 joules. That one fires a 61 caliber paintball type round, while all the other ones fire a 68 caliber round. Interesting things to note here is with the 68 caliber rounds, you do get more varied ammo types. Okay, so real quickly here we have what's considered a pepper ball, right? You often hear these things referred to as pepper ball launchers. This ball is a combination of CS and OC. These can be very potent. I've actually broken one of these in my room before, and didn't even know it got broke. Within like seconds, I was coughing, I was sneezing, my eyes were watering, and it didn't even hit me, right? These things are designed to be shot, to hit in the chest level area. They explode in a cloud of OC powder, and they can be very debilitating to individuals hit by them. This is the round that is most common, suggested to be used with them. This is solid nylon. From the research I've done, these things hurt pretty good. They can cause bruising. This right here is a rubber round. Personally, I do not recommend these. I've tried. They have a tendency to get stuck in the barrel. You can also get rubber steel core, but again, in my experience, they do not work so well in these models. They might work better in the rifle models, which I've not tried yet, but just a thought. Some other rounds would be the nylon steel core, which again I haven't tried, but I've heard that they have a tendency to have penetrative capability. The outer nylon shell breaks and the smaller steel ball inside goes into the person. There are also glass rounds, which from what I understand, I haven't tried, but they break on impact with pieces of glass flying out like shrapnel. Also, they hit with hard impact. My personal favorite would be this guy, which is your solid aluminum, right? These guys are lighter than steel. They're solid. They're hard. These guys have the potentiality to break bones, cause organ damage, internal bleeding, and if you hit someone in the head or the eye, you can kill them. So this is where things get interesting. I've done a lot of research on this, and as far as the state of New Mexico goes, these things are legal in all states. You don't have to have a permit or undergo a background check, but under New Mexico state laws, we have a law called the Castle Doctrine, okay? So this means that if you are in your own home, your castle, or your car, which is an extension of your home, and someone attacks you and they are bearing lethal force, and you believe that they intend imminent harm against you, you have the right to respond with lethal force in kind, okay? So the key thing here is you want to be able, if you do wind up in a court of law, you need to be able to demonstrate that you, one, believed you were facing imminent danger, two, your attacker was armed with lethal force, three, you need to understand these laws. Another one would be the no responsibility to retreat law, meaning even if you're out in public and someone attacks you with lethal force, you are under no obligation to retreat. You can't face that threat down. Beyond that, so even though these are marketed as less lethal launchers, you are fully within your rights, especially if you're a felon, right? This is the most legal thing you can carry that is as possibly comparable to a firearm as possible, and that you can design to be more lethal than what it is marketed for, okay? So you can put rounds in it, like the ones I've told you about and demonstrated. You can even go and train yourself to only take headshots, okay? You just have to be able to justify, if you do wind up in a court of law, that it was self-defense, the other person was armed with lethal measures, and you fully believed that they meant you imminent harm, okay? So the key here is lethal force for lethal force. Beyond that, these things are pretty cool. They come equipped with bottom rails if you want to put a flashlight or a laser. They come with sights on the top. They have a safety switch. Here you can eject the magazine, okay? I recommend the 7 rounds. They come with 5, but I mean, more rounds is always better, right? Reinsert, clicks. They have a pressurized trigger, okay? And then here you have, they come with a different one. I put one that's easier to use, but you basically just unscrew this. You have your 12-gram CO2 cartridge inside, goes back in, put this back on. And the cool thing about these is they are designed where you have a fresh CO2 canister no matter what until you pull the trigger. As soon as you pull the trigger, it breaks the seal. Okay, so your first shots are going to have full power no matter what. On the SD, which is this one, you pull the trigger once to break the seal, then you pull it again to fire. With the LE, obviously the law enforcement edition, first time you pull, fires. Another interesting key point about these things is when you eject the magazine, I don't know if you can see that, but it still holds a round inside, and it can still fire that round even though the magazine is not in the device. Just real quick, that's the bore you're looking at. That's what the bore looks like. These things are not considered firearms because the bore is a different diameter, and because they do not use explosive propellants to fire the round, they use CO2. That is under federal and state law. And these things are great. At close quarters, you can do a lot of damage. You can shut down a threat quickly, especially if you're using things like the harder aluminum or the nylon steel core rounds. Personally, I plan to make mine as lethal as possible for obvious reasons. Another thing you can do too, you can see in the clip, you can see through it, you can see what's in it, okay? So you can also get these cases for your magazines. You can get holsters and whatnot, concealed carry, open carry that fit these. You can get other things like this, which hold an extra magazine, extra CO2 canister, goes on the belt. The one thing I have had issues finding is extra magazines for the non-pistol types. You can try to order those directly through Byrna licensed providers. But here you can see is a 7-round magazine. What I did here is I put a pepper ball at the top. I put some of the nylon ones, and then behind those are the solid aluminum. So if you do wind up in a court of law and you need to defend yourself, you can say, look, I staggered my rounds, okay? I put the first ones as pepper, the next ones were nylon, and if none of those worked, the next ones were solid aluminum, okay? So you're gradiating up in force. Beyond that, I highly recommend these products. Next time I will do a video showing them being fired. I just wanted to take this time to let y'all know about this amazing product, especially for those of you that are felons. You have no right to carry a firearm legally. This you can carry. These have, on average, like a 60-foot range. The Mission 4 has a 100-foot range. They hit with impact. They sound like a firearm when they're being fired. I would compare it to what a 9mm sounds like going off. They look like a firearm, so even if you're just, going for deterrence sake, right? If somebody is not right up close, not looking at the barrel, chances are they're going to think you're armed with an actual firearm. Beyond that, again, this is the SD, not the LE. The LE looks like this by default. The LE hits with more joules. It has more feet per second. It has a better capacity to fire more rounds. Typically, the SD comes with an 8-gram CO2 canister. On mine, I put this extender here, which gives it the ability to carry the 12-gram CO2 cartridge, but it also allows it to have greater distance. But as this is the base model, I already have the LE on the way and have plans to get the TCR and Mission 4 in the future. When I do, I will break those down to you guys as well. Then we will do some videos with live firing. And yeah, I hope you guys will consider getting one of these. They're amazing. I have not had to use mine against anyone so far, but I'm sure when that time comes, I will not be disappointed. All right, well, you guys have a good one. I hope this was a good and informative video, and I'll see you next time.